everybody was telling me when you go to the US, you have to forget about yourself, be super American, etc. So I tried to do that at the beginning. And after I was like, yes, but this is not me.
Country opener, they are usually salespersons.
Yeah.
And so you started first with marketing. As a marketer, I love that.
Yeah, of course. But I think this is most important to have the founder on the ground with the team, you know, to create this culture and this spirit. Our culture, it's not a French culture, it's like an international, it's a global culture.
This is Next Market Live, the podcast by Weglot.
We're bringing you the unfiltered stories of CEOs, CMOs, and go-to-market pros who've taken their brands beyond their home markets.
From the first, where do we start, to major pivots and unexpected challenges, we explore how international growth
is rarely a straight line.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Next Market Live, the podcast by Weglot. I'm Eugène Ernoux, CMO at Weglot, and today's episode is going to be a very tasty one because I'm speaking with Alix de Sagazan, Group CRO and co-founder of AB Tasty. Alix co-founded AB Tasty with her childhood friend, Rémi Aubert, in 2009. Today, it's one of the leading platforms helping marketing and product teams test and personalize digital experiences. The company has grown into a global player with more than 1,000 customers and 300 employees, with offices across 3 continents. Alix played a key role in that journey by moving her entire life and family to New York to crack the US market. And more recently, AB Tasty merged with VWO to form a global leader in the space. Alix, I'm delighted to have you with us today.
Very happy to be here today.
So, Alix, I wanted to start and dive right into a juicy part of our conversation, your move to the US. My first question I wanted to ask you is why the US was and is today, I guess, also a key market for AB Tasty. Was there demand already in the US, or were you just pushing because you knew it was a big market for AB Tasty?
Yeah, great question. So just to give you a bit of background, so I co-founded AB Tasty in 2010, and then we've started to be a SaaS solution in 2014. And then we have raised some funds with VCs in 2014, 16, and 17. So I moved to the US in 2018, so just after my Series B.
Okay.
So before that, we had already cracked the French market. We had already opened offices in UK, Spain, and Germany. And of course, US was, the big piece of cake, or maybe the whole cake we had to conquer. And I would say that in our space, if you want to become a global leader, of course, you have to go to the biggest market. So I would say that was kind of obvious. And when you say that it's a dream, it resonates to me because for me, it was not a dream at all.
Okay.
I was very happy living in Paris with my kids and my family, and I didn't want to move. So I put myself in a non-comfort zone to move to the US, and that was the best decision ever.
And so, why move yourself? I guess it's a hard choice, to physically move, as you say, your family. I have 2 kids, not moving with the same job for a few years. It's already a challenge to raise young kids. So on top of that, move to a new country. Why did you decide that it was the right move to do that?
So when we did our Series B in 2017, our investor asked us to go to the US. So that was one of the conditions.
Okay.
And the fun part of the story is that at the beginning, my co-founder was we are co-founder and co-CEO of AB Tasty with Rémi. And he was to be the one going to the US.
Okay.
And me, as I didn't want to go, I was supposed to be the one staying. The thing is that Rémi is in charge of tech and product. I'm in charge of the go-to-market. So what's the logic, right? So it was a bit a hard decision because he wanted to go. I did not want to go. So we called a coach to help us make the decision. And with the coach, he helped us. And we decided to shift, and I decided to go to the US. So it was because of investors and because of course of our ambition as well to become a global leader.
Yeah, and so moving your family, it was how was it like the first few months? It was hard to settle.
When I'm always telling the story to my US team about the beginning. I felt that I was in a washing machine at the beginning. I suffered a lot. I arrived and I had to hire like 25 people. I didn't know how to hire in the US. I didn't have any cultural codes, etc. So I met a lot of people, of course, but you have to learn by yourself as well. And I had as well to manage the business in Europe. So it was super hard and tricky for me to manage and to be sure that everything was going well in Europe while developing the US, and as well arriving with my family, new schools, new way of living, new way of everything. So I felt it was a very hard year for me, the first year.
Did you have already traction there, or you had to start everything like? And my second question would be: would you have been able to start from France first, or maybe you did? Because I see a lot of founders, sometimes they try to start from France, maybe even taking calls at 2 a.m. first to try to sign a few first contract before either hiring someone or moving there. Did you try that, or it was just right away?
We did that. We developed it from France. Okay. So we've been lucky because my co-founder did what's called the impact program from Business France to go to the US for 3 months.
Okay.
And he helped in developing the market there. He went with 2 people from A/B Testy, and they worked super hard. And after 6 months, they managed to have 1 or 2 customers. So we hired a very small go-to-market team with 1 sales, 1 CSM, and 1 marketer. And when I arrived, the 3 of them were there, and we had already something like 10, 12 customers, I would say. So I didn't arrive with a white paper. We had already a bit. We were doing something like 200K of ARR, something.
Okay, so you already had kind of maybe not a very market fit, but at least a few signs that
first customers and traction.
Was there a moment that first year you said it was a washing machine, very hard, where you said okay, was it the good call to go to the US? Maybe it was a mistake?
No, I don't think I never thought about that. I think I was so much focused on recruiting the right teams that I was just thinking about, I need to execute and to do that. So the hard part was that in the morning, I was in calls all morning. I'm someone that is very in person, meetings, etc. So being on calls every morning with France, UK, Spain, etc. And in the afternoon, being on interviews. So I was just having days like that, which was kind of hard. I had some personally, I did great friends, etc. So it was nice, but it was a lot of work. And I would say that so I first recruited a recruiter.
Nice.
So an HR person that helped me to recruit the first people. And then I hired a VP of marketing to fuel the pipeline. Okay. And then I hired some sales. So I think it was the right way of doing things.
Nice. That's actually very interesting because we see a lot of companies, they start more with sales first. The country manager, country opener, they are usually salespersons.
Yeah.
And so you started first with marketing. As a marketer. I love that.
Yeah, of course.
Why did you think?
Because I didn't want to have sales. I've been told that in the US, salespeople, they are very focusing on selling and closing, and they don't do outbound, etc. So I was I need to have a lot of inbound to be sure that I have enough food for my salespeople. So that's why I started with marketing. And then sales people. Okay. And I remember during the summer, we had an amazing quarter, and I was wow, that's great, because after I've worked really hard these 3 first quarter, And then we are hitting our number for the fourth quarter. So I was super happy about that.
Nice.
I'm just saying things about like everything that went well, but a lot of things were complicated as well.
What were the things that were complicated?
I mean, like I hired a lot of people. Some people, we had to let them go. Some people it worked, some people it didn't work.
Of course.
We had like amazing traction at the beginning that it started to slow down. I didn't understand why. So, I had to rework a bit my go-to-market. So
Okay.
lot of things have happened. But I would say that the first year was focusing on recruitment and execution and with a good success at the end of the year.
And yeah, because the US market is very competitive. I guess
Yes.
you had a lot of big
competitor.
competitors,
Yes.
Optimizely, others already on the market. As a French or European company, how do you do to start selling in the US where you have big competitors that might are much more famous than you there?
So I don't think US company are really looking at is it a US company or not. I think that this is less and less the case. We are in a more and more global environment. Sometimes even on the website of a SaaS company, you don't know where they are. You just go to LinkedIn to see the city, but you don't really know where they are exactly. I think that what I discover is that the American buyer is very pragmatic.
Mm-hmm.
If they see like a good product with, like good support and like a good quality, good price, etc., they are going, they are going to sign and to become a customer. So I think like the most important is to focus on the value we are delivering to the customers.
Of course.
At the beginning, we were very opportunistic, so we were doing a lot of mid-market. And the VP sales I have hired at the beginning was more like, I would say, on the transactional side and very mid-market. And then after 2 years and a half, I hired another VP of sales who were more used to sell enterprise. And so after 2 years, so at the beginning, our average contract value was more like a mid-market contract value. And when I recruited the new VP sales, we went very enterprise.
And on the marketing side, what did you do as a first bet? The marketing hire that you prioritize, which is really nice. What did he or she do to build the pipeline, as you said?
So what we did is we wanted to replicate a bit what has worked in France and in Europe. So it was really doing a lot of, I would say, classical marketing campaigns, a lot of events at A/B Testy. We are, I think, very focused on events. So at the beginning, I think we've spent a bit too much money on like different events, and some of them were not worth it. But step by step, we found how to go to market, and what we did is focus a lot on partnership.
Okay.
So
interesting.
We've hired like a partner marketing manager to really focus on events, and as you know, we didn't have like an endless budget, not a big brand reputation. We were like, let's work with like the big names on the market, so the big companies, and let's sponsor their event. Let's do like dinner with their customer, lunch and learn, etc. So we had a lot. I would say that it was after 2 years, because at the beginning it was a bit opportunistic and not all the choices were good. But I think after 2 years, I refined a bit the go-to-market and how we and the marketing strategy, and it was much more partner focused, because and we were focusing on partners that have exactly the same buyer as A/B Testy.
And it was more like agency partners?
No, it was both. It was technology, so big technologies who were having like the budget to do like big events. So we were doing this event because it was very qualified people, exactly our buyers. So that was absolutely perfect for us, and it has worked very well.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of companies entering markets with partnership. I think it's an underused way of going into a new market. A lot of companies are trying to go themselves to hire someone, but they forget about partnerships.
Partnership is a very good channel. You have we hired very quickly a partnership manager. So you have to have someone focused on that. And then you have to have someone in the marketing focused on that as well, because it's a lot of work and energy.
True.
But once you found the right one, it can be super powerful because the leads that are coming from partnership are going to transform much better.
Yeah.
We have like a transformation rate at around 25%, but on channel it's more 50% because it's much more qualified.
At Weglot, we actually have a third of our revenue coming to the US, and we have nobody there. And it's thanks mainly, we are a product-led company, so it's different than A/B Tasty, but partners, so either the CMS, so the technological partners, or the web agency partner, they know the market, they know the buyers, they have the trust of the buyer. So when you're a company and you don't have that trust, I think it's a great way, at least to test a market and even grow a company. So it's indirect, so you don't fully control everything, but at the beginning, it's very strong.
And at the end of the day, it costs you less money than these big events, because we have done these big events that, where you have a big booth, and at the end of the day, it's not
nobody comes.
And it's not so qualified. So I'd rather spend my budget on that. Sometimes we've done events where we've shared, the price of the event with others. Very qualified and with a lot of great people coming. So that was much more efficient.
And going more on the brand side of things, in a past interview, you said that as a French company, you were quite modest and that you had to change that completely to be more American, the storytelling being more on the vision, maybe overselling a bit your product. When did you realize that? And can you tell us more about that?
First, I'm French, and second, I'm a woman. So I think that, even us women, sometimes we have this imposter syndrome, and we don't want to be too bullish, etc. So I think that everybody was telling me, when you go to the US, you have to forget about yourself, be super American, etc. So I tried to do that at the beginning. And after I was like, yes, but this is not me, and this is not going to work if I'm not myself. And so I started to discuss with my team, etc. And I realized that why they came to A/B Tasty, it was because, of course, the founder moved to the US. And I think that when we say that we need the founder to come to the US for customer, I think it's even most important for the team than for the customers, because at the end of the day, you can travel 1 week a month to see the customers. But I think this is most important to have the founder on the ground with the team. You want to create this culture and this spirit. And I realized, speaking with them, that they valued a lot the way we are managing people. I would say European way with this good life balance. Of course, in the US, they are doing that more and more. And I think that realizing that made me embrace much more our culture. It's not a French culture. It's an international, it's a global culture. And yes, we are French. So I was doing little things like apéro on the first Thursday of the month.
We love apéro.
We love apéro. A lot of, you put a lot of little things about French touch with the croissant breakfast and things like that. But I was I don't have to forget about who we are. We have to embrace that. And instead of, blaming us, being proud of what we have. And at the end of the day, the people that are going to join us are the ones that feel aligned with that. And the people who are too bullish, etc., they are not going to come. So at the end of the day, I love that. I think that being more aligned with who we are, it's a bit the message I want.
And just a quick side note on the name of the company, A/B Tasty. Did it work in the US?
So I remember the first time I went to the US, I was at the border control and they were like, is it a food company? So everybody is always asking if it's a food company. So I'm always doing jokes yes, we sell pizza. But no, it's, I don't know if it worked or not, but I don't think it has been,
negative.
No, I don't think it has been negative. At the end of the day, people are asking questions. You can make a joke around it and,
so you
breaks the ice.
You never thought about changing the name or?
Alors, we thought about changing the name, not at all because of that, but of the tasty part, but about the A/B part, because A/B testing now is like a global experience platform where you can do A/B testing, but as well, you can do personalization, you can do product recommendation, you can do search, you can do tons of things. So we thought about changing the name because of the A/B, because people were like, oh, this is just an A/B testing company, whereas it's much more. Now that we are merging with another company, we are going certainly to change the name at some point.
If we take a step back from the US and we go more to the global presence of A/B Tasty, you've said at the beginning that A/B Tasty was already in multiple countries in Europe before going to the US. When did you realize that you wanted A/B Tasty to be more than a French champion or even more than a European champion? Because there are great companies that are just on the French market, and it's not the biggest market, but it's a good market.
It's a good market.
The European market is big. Why did you want to go even further and now with Asia, with VWO?
So I think that, ambition is growing over time. At the beginning, we just wanted with Rémi to do like a nice tool for our customers. And very quickly, we had a very good traction on the French market. And I remember we were doing like a presentation to our employees. Maybe we were 10 or something like that. And we were like, in 4 years, we are going to be global. We are going to be all around the world. And I was like, oh my God, we are just saying so much bullshit. But at the end of the day, 4 years after, it really happened.
Nice.
So I think it's just, over time, you are like growing your ambition. So we did this first fundraising to this seed in 2014 to grow the French market. Then 2016, we opened an office in London, an office in Cologne, an office in Madrid. And then 2017, we started the US market and I moved in 2018. And then 2019, we opened our APAC office.
Okay.
So, it came, I would say, quite naturally. So now A/B Tasty is like 300 employees with, a go-to-market team we have like 12 different offices. And we are merging with one of our partners / competitor. And they are a bit more than, they are like 400. They are based in India.
Okay.
So it's going to be a new, very interesting step for us because we are becoming an even more global leader. We are doubling like our revenue and our number of people.
Okay.
So this is going to be a very nice challenge.
And circling back to that first steps where you grew in a lot of countries. First, was there failures, country where you wanted to expand and it didn't work?
Yes.
And how do you adapt the go-to-market? I guess every country is very different. We did events about going to Germany and it's very different than going to Spain or even going to Portugal. Usually people do Portugal and Spain together and actually it's a mistake. Did you succeed in each country or you had some failures?
So I think we had successes and failures almost everywhere. And we had like big successes. And I would say that today, for example, if I take the UK market, it has been a market where it has been super complicated at the beginning, like during 3 years. And after 3 years, I was like, we are going to stop the UK market. It's too complicated. And then, something happened. We had the right people. And now it's one of our best markets. We had like the Spanish market, for example, was not at all a mature market at the beginning. So it was kind of hard to sign contracts and have new customers. Since 2 years, Spain and Italy are our most growing market. So I think it required a lot of patience. Okay. And as well, it's very linked to the people you're hiring.
Okay. When you say people, because you moved to the US, it's the ultimate way of involving the whole company, you as a co-CEO going there. I guess you didn't do that on all the markets, no. But did you move like some of the, C-levels or top levels?
So I think this is something that we could have done better on that. Everybody is always asking me if you had to do it again. I think that I would because of the nature of our business, because we are a marketing, a digital company. We are not an HR company. We are we have a product that can be spread out very easily. We don't need to change the product. We don't need to change the marketing. Okay. So that will not be the case for like another type of company where they have to focus on the European market. If I had to do it again, I would go directly to the US market.
Okay.
Because this is suddenly a big market that you can address. Whereas in Europe, it's like different markets that are smaller with different languages, etc. So I will do first US, and then UK, and then Southern Europe.
Okay, interesting.
If I had to do it again. And we send a lot of, I think we could have been better in sending people. So me, I moved to the US. We had one person, but not in the leadership team, moving to Spain. We had two person moving to the UK, but not from the leadership team. And the good example is the opening of our APAC country, where we had two persons that moved from Paris to Singapore to open the APAC market. They had two complicated years at the beginning, but since then it's working great. And it's people that joined the company in 2015 and that are now now the leader of APAC market is someone that is in the company for more than 10 years. And he opened the APAC market.
As you said before, bringing the culture because they knew the Paris office, the AB Tasty.
If you can have people that can lead the market that are coming from the headquarters, this is the best thing.
And so you said that you didn't have to change the marketing side of things that much for each market.
But US, of course, we had to adapt a bit. But I think marketing today for me is it's something that is much more global. And as you know, we are very enterprise, so we need to see our customers. We are very event driven, and this is a bit the same everywhere. You organize. We have one flagship event that is Experience Next, where we invite our customers and our partners. We have some breakfast signature event as well that we are organizing. So I would say that more or less we are doing the same in every market. The American market is a bit specific because you have to go in every city. So this is a bit different, but for the rest, this is more or less the same marketing program.
It's the same in Germany too. Sometimes you have to go city by city.
Totally.
Even a smaller country.
Very decentralized Germany.
And so, I don't know if you have maybe a concrete example of a go-to-market tactic that outside of events that worked in one market better than in the others?
No, I think we have some events that are working great in some market. I think then it's more a question of execution of how we do and we cover the events. And I think that we have a much more in-person marketing in Europe because it's easy to organize a lunch and stuff like that in Madrid, in Paris, in London. Whereas it's much more difficult to do that in the US, so it has to be much more digital.
And that partnership side of things, did you kind of structured it? And every time you open the new country, you go.
We have a partner manager in every region.
Yes. Okay, interesting. And how did it work? Because usually there is that famous debate about the HQ and local teams.
Yes.
HQ doesn't know the reality on the fields from the sales people that are at events. How did you manage that?
We had, of course, these kind of struggles, but people, they can say, hey, you don't understand us on the local market, but at the end of the day, they have a lot of independence as well, a lot of freedom, which they appreciate as well, because they can manage their work day as they want. So I think that we had that at the beginning, but over the year, it's been 10 years that we are an international company. So now we have a lot of tools, to for example, I'm going to give a very concrete example. On Monday, we have a meeting that we call the high five that we do in every country. So we do that in France and UK and Spain and Germany and then the US. And product is coming. So it's a 30 minutes where everybody is giving updates. So you have the sales update, marketing updates, which are local. Okay. And then you have the product updates that are global. You have the headquarter updates that are global. So every week, people are, feed with a lot of information from HQ and,
and local team.
Yeah, and local team. And we are trying, to create a lot, over all those tools, Slack, etc., to, create a bit of harmonization. But I think it was a struggle at the beginning. It's much less a struggle today.
And that made me think of, I did a interview with Rémi Malenfant, which he was at, he's a marketing director. He was at UKG before, a HR company. And he said that when, for them, the sign that it worked for a new market was that a customer was saying, "Oh, you're not a German company. You're actually a French company." Like, wow, I didn't know. Like, you feel so local.
Yes.
Do you track those kind of signs also from the local teams?
Yeah, it happens. It happened to me in France with a French guy telling me, "Oh, it's a French company." It's
okay,
an
nice.
American company.
Okay, the other way around. That's
the
nice.
other way around. But yes, and I think like a lot of customers, they don't even know that we are a French company.
That's I guess good. Yeah. And I wanted just to finish more on that merger, famous merger that you just announced a couple of months ago with VW. Yeah, how much does it change the rhythm compared to growing organically, like hiring? So what you did in the US, like how much either acquire or merger is completely different for international expansion?
Yeah. We have, so it's been 4 years that at ABTC we've becoming more acquisitive. So we have acquired 4 companies in the last 4 years. So we've decided already, to do like, of course, organic growth, but as well external growth. So for us, like 2 years ago, we were thinking about what could be the future of ABTC. We were thinking about acquiring more companies, and then this opportunity came. So, I mean, the story makes so much sense for us, for our customer. So that's why we've done this amazing deal, and this is quite exciting for everybody, for the team. And it put us in a demotion of a company that is doing 120 million of ARR, with, of course, a lot of ambition, but as well with offices all around the world, which is, of course, a challenge. But, this is something that we have already done, is just changing, I would say, the dimension and, working with a new culture that we didn't know at all before, because like the Indian culture is, we didn't work before with Indian people. And we are learning a lot on both sides. And this is an amazing challenge.
And as a marketer, I'm very curious about the marketing side of that. How do you know already what you will do in terms of brand naming?
Yes. This is a constant discussion that we're having. I was having one this morning. Yes, we are going to certainly at some point rename and rebrand, of course, to as well, make it more, position it as, like a suite, a global marketing suite for our customers.
Okay, and I guess you already started to, all those events that you do, to do them together.
To do that together, and step by step.
Very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Alix. Just have some quick fire questions for you. So the idea is that you give short one sentence or one word, even if you can, answers. So the first one, what's the biggest myth about international expansion?
To hire too fast and too many people.
Okay. One mistake you would never repeat.
About that, opening too many offices at the same time.
Okay. Which market surprised you the most, for better or worse?
UK markets. I was telling you, it's been like complicated for the first years, and then it shifted to the best markets.
Okay.
So I was, like a bit desperate, and then it became my biggest hope and happiness.
Elizabeth would love that answer. What's one thing every company should adapt but forgets to do?
Maybe the cultural aspect. I don't think people forget to do it, but maybe underestimate it. Everything is about a relationship. And I think that even in the US, where you think that relationships are more transactional, etc., I think this is very important to focus on it.
Okay, great. And last question, your number one piece of advice for a team entering a new market?
Number one piece of advice is going to be the same as my key takeaway. Hire the right people.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alix.
Thank you, Eugene, for having me. Very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this episode. I liked it. I think it was a very interesting conversation. The fact of hiring marketing first, I loved it. And of course, hiring being the most important. It's obvious, but not said enough. So yeah, hiring is hard. Hiring the right person in each market that fits with that market is hard. So yeah, great takeaway from this episode. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow Alix on LinkedIn and you can find all the resources from this episode in the show notes. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please subscribe to make sure you don't miss another episode with a marketer or leader talking about international expansion. Thank you so much and see you next time.